Hey, welcome back to Flywheel Films and welcome to another video, actually the first exclusive video featuring Luke's beloved Porsche Boxster. This is the German Miata, the Schnitzel Miata that I'm really excited to bring to the channel. We've done a video on another kind of German Miata, Ethan's Audi TTS, and this is another variation on that. Maybe you have a Miata and you're thinking about going a different route, or maybe you're curious about a different route, or maybe you have multiple options for multiple cars, because in my garage, ideally I'd have like both of these cars. So we're going to talk to Luke about his car.
Sell it.
And I can't believe, dude, I can't believe you're selling this.
Why am I selling this?
So Luke, honestly,
Howdy.
This has been a blast of a car, and I don't want to think of this as a sad thing. Like, this is like the farewell this car deserves. Like, it deserves to be loved on.
This is a happy send-off.
Right.
I'm smiling.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Are you going to keep that shirt?
Nah, dude, I'm getting a WX, bro.
So this is your beloved Boxster GTS.
That's right.
For those who don't really know much about Boxsters, what generation is this? What year is this? Like, where does this fall in the lineup of what, 99 to now's Boxster?
Yeah. So this is the third generation of Boxster. It's internally called the 981. So they made it from 2013 to 2016. It's the GTS trim, which they made for model years 2015 and 2016. And yeah, the 718 Boxster that came after it is largely the same car, same chassis, a lot of the same components. So not too much has changed.
Don't fix it if it ain't broke.
Exactly.
Although the Germans just tend to over-engineer everything, so it's kind of crazy. But notably, you've had a Miata before this, and those who have followed the actual channel may have remembered our first road trip out to Fly Miata Summer Camp, where you had your Miata. And then last year, our road trip to Fly Miata Summer Camp, where you brought this. And infamously, we rebadged it as a Mazda. We put NC4 badges on it.
NC4.
It was great. Everyone loved it. And I think...
I wouldn't say everyone loved it, but...
most people loved it. And there were maybe some weird negative Nancys, and we just don't talk to those people because to each their own. And I guess really quick, why did you sell the Miata? Like, what was the disconnect?
Yeah, for sure. So the ND that I had was fantastic, and out of the box, I bought it with some amazing modifications. It basically had... It
was turbo.
Yeah, it was all the FM Go Fast parts. So their coilover kit, front and rear sway, and the coilovers. Right. So it was fantastic. Super fun, super engaging car. I kind of messed up my back and needed a bigger car. Yep. And that was an excuse to sell it and buy this. Right, yeah. And it had some, rough coilovers. It was set up nicely for track and everything, but like... it rode hard and the space was tight. I'm about 6 foot. Yeah. So when I owned the ND, I sat in this and I was like, oh, wow, I can I'm not reclining, but I'm close to it. This is a nice, fairly spacious interior, and we can actually take a look at that. I freaking love this spec. The blue, what's the color of this blue? They have a name for it? Sapphire blue. Of course they have a name for it. With a little bit of dust. With light dust. This is almost PTS right here, paint to sample. That's right. And a dark blue top, really nice blue contrast. And then the really cool gray, is there a code name for that too? There probably is. And I'm probably gonna get flagged by some Porsche enthusiast. It's not quite chalk. Yeah. It's a darker gray, and notably, of course, a manual. Now, this car in automatic form had a PDK, right? That's right. Which is awesome. That's a great transmission. It's a really good transmission. If you're not quite the manual elitist that some of us are. Yeah. If you have one leg. It's notably, if you were like, hey man, I gotta buy an automatic Miata, I would have been like, no, go buy an automatic Boxster. That's better. And yeah, so you've had this for about a year. About a year. A good year. It's been a good year. Yeah, it's been a great car to own. I mean, yeah, what's like, oh, there goes another German Miata. So there's a lot of options. I want to film all of them eventually because the Ziata. The Ziata. There's a lot of alts to the Miata, and that's okay. We live in a world where we need variety, the spice of life. But you've had this for about a year, and you haven't really done anything to it, right? I mean, is there like major maintenance things or anything, or just not really? I mean, all the mods that I did, because I wanted this to be an out of the box you know, fun car that could do occasional track duty.
Right.
And, you know, cooling wise, tire wise, brake wise, it's really competent. And you can just basically go to the track, put in some, you know, RBF 600 brake fluid.
Yeah.
Maybe get some hybrid pads and, you know, just go to town. So that's really the only thing that I changed is hybrid pads, and then just some like quality of life changes in the interior, but no major mechanical mods. I did add these guys here, which are just little covers.
Okay.
To prevent rock chips and other stuff from getting into the radiators, and then on the sides and the intakes as well.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's basically about it.
And we'll get to driving in a minute, but I guess, was there anything else you would have done? Like if you had kept this longer, do you think there was other big things on your horizon? Because like you said, it is actually so freaking sorted from the factory.
Yeah.
A Miata, any Miata, you get it from the factory and then you do things to it and then you're happy.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, oh, it's pretty much ready to go.
There's not much to do. And honestly, I feel like if I would have done, you know, suspension or anything around the way of performance, I might have actually made it worse. And we'll get into why that would be later,
right.
Based on the spec. I mean, honestly, I can't think of anything. Maybe Android Auto, like CarPlay integration.
Yeah, so I guess you're restricted to whatever that is.
Yeah, the
built-in
PCM, or in this case, the CDR, which is the downgrade of the PCM.
Porsche and those acronyms, man.
They're all 3 letters, yeah.
There's probably no acronyms for the frunk and the trunk, but can we actually look at those? Because I do want to even bring to light the functionality of this car.
Oh, that would be the PFC, Porsche Front Cargo,
okay.
And the PRC,
Porsche Rear Cargo.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
So
this is one notable thing this has over the Miata is
the storage space is insane.
Amount of storage space. I fit in there before.
In fact, let's just do a little quick demo.
Okay.
For those that aren't initiated here.
You could have a hot tub in the front, like there's just a whole party up front.
Beer koozie. Yeah. Small child.
Yeah.
That's illegal. Don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, a theory. So yeah, huge front trunk, which alone, that's about the same size as a Miata. But then...
But wait.
But wait, there's more. Right in front of this, what, active rear spoiler, right? That's a thing. Another trunk, which actually fits like guitar and seat cushion and all sorts of things. Ooh, there goes the spoiler. Nice, that's sweet. Yeah, so
the car got excited.
Car got excited and car go space. This is, I mean, this is just like a really awesome do-it-all. It's not a one-trick pony, it's like a mini trick pony. Yeah. And a lot of ponies. How many ponies? What do you know the torque and power on this thing?
I mean, you could fit at least one like micro pony in the front, for sure.
It's
horsepower?
A lot. Yeah.
What'd you ask me?
Horsepower, torque. Do you know?
Oh shoot, I should have looked these numbers up before.
That's
I think
okay.
they're
actually right here on the screen, which is really pretty cool. But
Look at that. Check that out.
Yeah, we can't read them, which is weird, but that's okay.
So I know horsepower is 330 from factory.
Yeah.
So the Boxster S got 315, and this got a tune that added another 15 on top of that for the GTS.
Nice.
Can you tell? Probably not.
And I guess really quick before we drive it, what are the, like there's a lot of options you can get with Porsches. That's a famous thing.
Yeah.
And I see some buttons.
The options maketh the car.
Yeah. And did you get the options you wanted? Like shopping for this used is a big deal.
It's really hard. So the market for these is tiny. For reference, I think judging from somebody on Renlist forum who had a lot of free time, he estimated, based on doing some analysis on VIN numbers, about 840 or 860 of the GTSs were made during 2015 and 16. And the take rate, you know, for manuals was, you know, probably less than 30%.
Okay.
If I'd guess, maybe around like 20.
Yeah.
That I don't know. But anyway, all that to say is I was looking for one of these for a long time, and this one just happened to come up in Denver. And the color and the mileage sold me.
Yeah.
You kind of have to make compromises when you're shopping for a used Porsche. You can't get what you want.
Yeah.
It's not like
if you want to get
Burger
what
King,
you
don't get it your way. You mostly get it your way.
If you want to get it your way, you can configure one and then wait like 2 years and then spend, I mean, what is a new Boxster? Like,
so the new GTS 4.0s start at just shy of 100K, and if you want to add, you know, like decent options for safety and you know, because nothing really comes standard, then you're at like 110K for a, you know, a new car that has the same chassis as a 10-year-old car.
Yeah, so I think you did the absolute fantastic move of buying one used, and you haven't really had any major issues. Like, I don't know, people's perception sometimes is, oh my God, German car, that means I'll be in the shop 24/7.
Yeah, granted, if something does go wrong, it's horrible. Out of panic, when I did a track day and I did have some issues around the fuel pump, so there's a maintenance item.
Yep.
You know, it was what felt like a misfire, and I was like, you know, in the paddock, and I was like, how much is a new engine? Oh my God, it's 15,000 to 30,000 if you get it, you know, used or new. So, but they're really reliable. It's, you know, it's the Porsche 3.4 that has been around for quite a long time. So in this generation, people really don't have issues. But if they do have issues, they suck.
It's naturally aspirated. You're not worrying about additional forced induction complications, which are a lot of fun on Porsches, but can also lead to headache.
Totally.
But granted, you were playing the odds. You had 2 German cars. So if
I like to live dangerously.
On one hand, it's twice as likely for you to have a German problem. On the other hand, it's if one has a German problem, then you have another car. Yeah. So you have a backup car.
And you know, getting back to the whole Miata thing, the ND that I had was fantastic, but I think with the mods that it had, it would have needed a lot more supporting mods to be a reliable track car. You know, we would have needed an upgraded clutch, probably a rear diff cooler, maybe an upgraded, you know, beefier rear diff. And then you're always worried about the, you know, the inevitable, like, when is my transmission going to blow up in my ND? This is an ND1.
Yeah, a little scary. 2018, I think.
So again, like, the only issues that I've had with this car, preventative maintenance wise, have just been a faulty high pressure fuel pump. That was a $1,500 part just for the fuel pump. But
otherwise good.
That's it.
But I guess back to options really quick. Other than color, which is obviously gorgeous, what are the options of looking at in the middle here?
Yeah, for sure. So that's your Porsche option decoder. So all the GTSs basically get, for Porsche's model line, they get as standard what you would have as optional equipment for like an S. So for this, that means you get the sport exhaust, which is this button. You get sport chrono, which adds this cool little dash timer.
Lap timer.
Which is like a lap timer. And then it also, if you put into Sport Plus, will give you auto rev matching on downshifts, which is fantastic, and it works seamlessly. And then also ordinarily you would get PASM, another Porsche acronym.
Porsche Active Suspension Management. Okay, I'm learning.
We can throw that up there.
Right.
And it's great. So it's active suspension management, as it sounds like, and you know, you can turn it on to get basically a stiffer ride quality, or you can turn it off. This car didn't come with that. So the only way that you don't get that in a GTS is if you configure it with the sports suspension or the X73 suspension, which lowers the car another 10 mils, adds beefier front and rear anti-sway, and it's phenomenal on the track. There's very little body roll, but it's pretty stiff on street.
I was gonna say, a bit rougher on the daily driving, which you wanted something you could daily.
And these come with stock 20s with P0 tires, so it's a pretty hard ride. It's not like brutal, you know. It's a little bit softer actually than the ND was on coilovers. But you know, that's kind of the reason for the transition. If I were to do it again, I probably would have gotten PASM for the roads that we live on, and this mostly being a street car. But if you want a track car, X73 is your friend.
Luke, what are you setting up there? That doesn't seem factory at all.
It's totally factory. It's the
Luke,
the PBH, the Porsche butt heater.
Did you spend double Miata money on a car with no heated seats?
No. No. Yes, fine. Okay. In classic Porsche fashion, it's not a standard option. Here is my heated seat button that doesn't exist.
Oh.
And if you splurge even more, you can get ventilated seats.
That's the way to go.
Which is really nice.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did the Amazon special and these work great. They just look a little goofy.
Hey, it's okay. You gotta lean into it. Now I'm just dying to drive it. Well, we've been talking about this for a long time. And we're basically out here in the Windows XP wallpaper. So beautiful. We should probably go hit a road.
Let's do it. This is epic. This is gonna be sweet.
A long time coming. And yeah, so we're, unlike most Porsche Boxster driving reviews, we're starting off-road.
This is an off-road driving section, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very niche consumer advice. But infinitely, I can already tell you, it is much more comfortable than a Miata. So therefore, you are not a liar.
If you have back issues, this is...
And these seats are so nice.
Yeah. So these are the optional sport bucket seats.
Okay.
Which, in keeping with hilarious options, come as manual. Oh. So you have two-way control for forward and backwards, but the rest is manual.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fun.
But if you want to spend like, I think it was like $3,000, you can get 18-way seats.
Dang.
That squeeze and hug you, you know, if you're feeling lonely.
Yeah.
Haven't been touched in a while, I don't know.
I'm gonna go drive my Porsche.
That's
right. I would never go home. I would just like, you know, leave work and then drive this thing. And then what's the longest like drive you've done? Like road trip-ish?
I think the Grand Junction trip that we did last year is about the longest. And like,
and that wasn't direct. A lot of people are like, oh, Grand Junction is only 3.5 hours. We did like a 6-hour route.
Yeah, we did a very long route. It's very easy to live with. I mean, it's Porsche's chassis tuning, suspension tuning engineers are absolute wizards. You look at the wheel, it's 20 inches, and you look at how much clearance is, and you can, you know, there's like barely any dead cat space. And somehow it still rides pretty decent, you know?
But man, this is just nice. So the first part of this drive is just kind of some straights, notably uphill. This hill, I struggle with the Miata. This just doesn't care.
Yeah. Now, so it's not that it's a super torquey motor. I think it's like 290 foot-pounds, something around there. You know, it's enough. The car, it doesn't weigh much. I think it's like 2,900 pounds.
Yep.
All your power is kind of after 4,000.
Yeah.
So the red line's 7,600, which is crazy.
Nice.
And even crazier, as Jordan will find out soon here, is your gearing is really tall.
Yep.
So second gear on the stock 20-inch tires goes all the way to 81 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh.
To red line. So if you're shifting into third and you've redlined your car, you know, you're breaking the speed limit basically everywhere except for Texas.
I have an error message here that says check front left indicator.
Let's get rid of that. There you go.
Okay, yeah. It's gone now. This is great. Yeah, flawless car.
If we want to do Sport or Sport Plus, that'll turn the PSE, the Porsche Sports Exhaust
Another
on.
acronym.
Another acronym,
Lovely.
Yeah. Everything's an acronym. And this one just saturates the throttle response, and this one saturates it more and gives you rev matching.
Nice. So I probably want to play with both.
And it changes the Porsche stability, the PSM.
Yep.
Porsche Stability Management.
Not to be confused with PASM.
Right.
Which is a different thing that you don't have. Yeah. Okay. I'm getting it.
You're minding your P's and Q's.
Don't quiz me, but
mostly P's.
I'm getting it. But, oh, this is just...
Don't give her a rip.
This is just... I'm looking for words right now. And it sounds great. So before we get to the canyon, you have a girlfriend who...
Where is this going?
A lot of people are like, they're car shopping, and they have, which is good, their significant other in mind.
Yes.
Oh, and then some don't. So it's, but you had this before her.
That's right.
But then what has she said about it? And she's cool because she drives a manual.
Yeah, she's super cool. She drove this like no problem. She likes it. I mean, I feel like the usual test is like, is it too loud? And it's like, it's pretty damn loud if, you know, if your valves are open.
Right.
But otherwise, it's, you know, it's pretty quiet without the sports exhaust on. It doesn't ride harsh. It rides pretty firm. But like on the highway or here,
rides better than a lot of Miatas.
It's pretty compliant. Yeah, it's pretty compliant. I feel like those are the usual girlfriend things. Like, is it cute? Is it a cool color? You know, ticks those boxes.
I mean, it's basically, you know, I'm wearing my Volkswagen hat, which I just realized, which is an accident.
Which is perfect.
This is really just a Beetle.
This is a Beetle.
And every girl loves a Beetle. So
that's right.
That's kind of... But as far as manual rev matching, which I'm doing right now, it really is such a great reactive throttle.
Yeah.
Like, it's not ambiguous and it's not lazy. Like, a lot of cars are just frustratingly lazy with the throttle response.
Yeah. And there's not much rev hang from factory, which is, you know, common problem in modern manuals.
Yeah, right.
Flywheel is incredibly light.
Yep. Yeah, the clutch feels great. The points, just all the driver input points feel really good. Now, this is an electronic steering rack, right?
It is. Okay. So, a lot of people rag on this generation. Nice.
Yep.
A lot of people rag on this generation and say the 987, which is the generation before this, had better steering, and it probably does. Or it seems the consensus is that it does because it's hydraulic. Yeah. This is pretty good for electronic steering.
Yeah. No, Porsche does that well too. I mean, a lot of cars have gone that route. Even the ND Miata. You went from a electronic power steering Miata to an electronic power steering Porsche.
Yeah.
And
they're both good.
They're both great.
Yeah. On center, the Miata was a little bit more darty and twitchy.
Yeah.
Part of that is also tires. I think this is on 235s in the front and 265s in the rear, so it's pretty planted.
Yeah.
But it has a slower steering ratio, I think, than the ND.
Right. So here I'm going to switch to sport mode, which made some lights go on. Which is exhaust, I guess, is one thing. And you said throttle response.
Yeah.
Which I could definitely feel. Oh, I would just drive like this all rush hour traffic, just sport mode.
Pop, 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 pop.
Yeah, and making popcorn. Let's go. Oh my gosh. Something about a Porsche in the canyons. I mean, really any sports car in the canyons is a joy, but
it's really loud in the canyons too.
Cool.
So how do you feel like your power delivery goes because you're in third and you're about 45 miles per hour?
Yeah.
What do you think about the gearing and the power delivery of it?
I could see both sides. Like, some people do complain about really tall gears. I feel like I could just like work around it, I guess.
Yeah.
And now we're behind a crosstrek doing 10 under the speed limit.
Classic Subaru things.
This is Colorado, guys.
Yeah.
This is a
real
world experience right here. This is, ooh, now we can see how the
ground clearance isn't great.
Ground clearance is, oh, there's a little thing right here.
Yeah. Paved section, and you should be all right.
Oh man, the clutch pickup point is just like so natural. So yeah, throttle is, I don't know, I can tell is naturally aspirated, and I'd love to experience this at sea level. I'd be really curious to see how that compares.
Yeah. Yeah, especially as we like climb in elevation, you know, for most of the places that I drive. Yeah, you can definitely feel the power loss as you gain altitude.
Yeah, because that's my one like benchmark at the moment is recently driving the new Cayman GTS 4.0.
Yeah.
And
that has a big step up in torque too.
Yeah, and I tried that both at sea level and high elevation, and I was like, that's really like all you need. But this is not much less. Like, I can feel a little bit less, and I could tell where, like, if I was in a 911, the pull would just be crazy with the turbo, but I don't feel like I need it.
Yeah.
And having the higher, the longer throttle, the higher red line, it's just like, oh,
it just keeps going.
Wind it out.
If you're in a Miata and you're shifting into like fourth, that's when you're shifting into third. And
exactly.
Like when you feel like you need to shift into second, if you're coming from a Miata, you have to just keep going because you have another 2,000 revs.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I'm just gonna go to Sport Plus now, and that's where the rev matching comes in, right?
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's really good. And this is a 2015 car too. So like,
this is almost 10 years old.
Yeah.
This feels just like what you'd want in a modern sports car. Well, I'm gonna turn around because there's a lot more corners back that way, and fuel is a thing. Oh, that. See, a lot of people have, and I'd love to know you guys' thoughts in the comments on rev matching, like automatic rev matching. A lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it.
Can I give my opinion?
What's your opinion?
So, I love the way that Porsche configures it. So, you have to go into the most aggressive setting, which is probably what you're going to be driving it on track.
Yep.
And then it turns it on.
Yep.
It's really, really nice not to have to think about that when you're minding your shift points, your brake points. Not having to heel toe on track it clears the brain up to give you more space to think about other things.
Yep.
I'm not a pro racing driver, so maybe some of you guys can do that effortlessly, but it's really helpful.
I can, so yeah. I much prefer this.
I can't believe that Porsche made this exhaust from the factory. Like I said it to you before, but people say that Porsche, you know, doesn't really have a sense of humor. And then you get cars like this, where it crackles for like 3 seconds after you lift off the throttle. It's crazy.
Laughs in German. That's gonna be the subtitles. But this is just like, I like this more than I expected. I didn't expect to not like it. I was just like, I was so paranoid of having this on a pedestal that I subconsciously took it off the pedestal. And now it's back on the pedestal.
It's back on the pedestal. Hey, I think that there's definitely room in your garage for a Cayman, which is, you know, the more serious version of the Boxster.
But here's the thing. Recently driving the Cayman in GTS form, and it's not that different year over year over year, or even in this case, almost a decade over a decade. In the Cayman versus Emira piece that we did, I chose Emira.
Yeah.
Partially because the sound in the cabin in the Cayman got annoying.
Oh, it's boomy.
It's too boomy.
So, fun fact on that is I've heard anecdotally that from people that have owned Boxsters and Caymans, they say that the Boxster is actually a little quieter on the highway.
Yep. And here's the thing.
Which is strange.
In my head, I was like, you know what? I'm never selling my Miata. Don't worry, guys. But what else would fit in the stable?
Stable?
I was like, oh, well, I already have a convertible. I'll buy a Cayman to partner with that. But I'm such a freaking convertible person. I could picture just driving a Cayman being like, I wish I could just put the top down.
Yeah.
And I see a place. Same. I see a place for both.
Yeah.
And it's not redundant. I really don't think they are different enough. I do see how for a lot of people, I mean, yourself included, honestly, for slightly medical reasons, but also enthusiast reasons, this was the next step over Miata.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of different steps past Miata, but there's also a lot of reason to keep the Miata.
Yeah, so I should probably talk about things that I miss in my ND now too, right?
Go.
So, also I would love
I won't be able to hear you, but...
Jordan asked me a question and then he just floors it with the sports exhaust. This guy.
Sorry, now I'm listening. Active listening. Active exhaust.
Porsche active listening.
PAL.
Thanks for being a pal.
Yeah. We'll be here all night, folks. Anyways, things you missed about
or at least
Miata.
Until we run out of gas.
Right.
Oh man. So the gearing is really fun in the ND.
Yep.
The gearing is great in this for track because you don't have to shift as much. Well, probably a little bit faster if the gearing was tighter, but the gearing was, for the power that the ND made, the gearing felt pretty short.
Yeah.
But I mean, for out here, for just canyon carving, I really miss the gearing and the ND, you know?
Yep.
I think it's more engaging. I think it's more fun. You feel like you're going faster for it. The shorter wheelbase and lightness of the Miata, you know, that's just characteristic.
It is so nimble. This does feel bigger. Now, I'm glad I've driven a lot of 911s because now I feel like that is just too big for me.
Yeah.
Like,
and they've gotten really big.
I get it.
Yeah.
But also, like, I prefer this size and the mid-engine character.
Yeah.
But like you said, Miata, light, nimble, not quite Lotus either. It's just like, it's like the Miata and the Boxster are two middle players. There is lighter and more raw, and there's also heavier and more powerful. And they're both playing midfield.
Yeah, like in between is like, you know, like the Lotus Elise, right?
Yes.
Where you have just the basics. And then on the other side is like, I don't know, say your 911 Cabriolet, which is, it's a lot of car and it's very powerful, but you lose some of the playful characteristic that just comes with lightness.
Yep.
So I'd say I missed that. We didn't cover it in the options section, but this comes with an open diff. You have to pay PTV, Porsche Torque Vectoring. It was a $3,000 option just to get a limited slip differential, which blows my mind. You know, the sticker for this was, I think it was 77K new, and you come with an open diff. Whereas the first gen Miata, you know, if you get, depending on how you option it, you can get, you know, limited slip. So I think I would have liked that, and the ND, you know, of course it was a club, so it had the limited slip diff, and that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Ownership costs. Yeah, you need to be in second.
I can't hear your ownership costs. Don't worry, they're not a problem.
Yeah, everything's fine. Again, nothing went wrong besides the high pressure fuel pump. But that was a $1,500 part. I think the ND HPFP is, I think it's like on the order of magnitude of like $300. You know,
it's a lot cheaper. But
it's a lot cheaper.
We even made this funny point in my huge like 100,000 mile long-term review. This car had a great cameo because I made fun of how expensive your parts were, and then you made fun of how lame the Miata sounds.
Well, you know what? That was kind of karma because there I was 4 months later with a failing high pressure fuel pump, actually crying. I didn't actually cry, but I wanted to.
Figurative tears.
Yeah, figurative tears. I don't know. It's a bit of a gamble with Porsche. They tend to be very reliable, and you know, this generation, very reliable for people that have owned the cars in the long run.
Yep. Porsche just makes you smile. It really does. I don't know. I'm very happy, and this does feel like a proper send off.
Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going.
And the brakes instill some confidence.
Yeah.
You
can brake check me too if you want.
Okay. a lot of Miatas need let me just, oh my gosh.
Oh, and you have the G meter. We can check how many G's you can pull, but when I did my oh shit emergency braking in our cruise, I think I pulled 1.1 something G's, and then with
oh my
RS4 tires, it'll do like 1.2 G's for braking.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She stops.
So anyways, I feel like this is just such a proper, I mean, I'm like emotional, a proper send-off, because this is just an incredible car. And I really do, like I said, what up, German brother? Like I said, I do think I would love to add to the stable someday. And I'm not going to sell them to this Miata. Like, it's just way too precious. And I would love, like, future kid to, like, maybe learn to drive on this. But there's room for both of these in the stable.
There's definitely room for both of these.
Because partially, it's just such a different animal. And even the handling dynamics of mid-engine. And my friends Paul and Todd did a film a decade ago now, maybe, called Mid-Engines and Mountains. And that's just, can't get much better.
Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think you got, I know you spent a lot of time in the Cayman. How do you feel like, you know, handling characteristics like turn in, he didn't really oversteer or slide it, but
yeah,
you know,
I don't want to wreck your car as you're selling it.
Yeah, but like ability to like rotate the car. How do you feel like that compares to, you know, your NC and then NDs?
It's totally different, but not like wild. It's not like the rear engine dynamics of a 911. And now that the 911 has gotten so big, so much more tire, so many well-sorted, well-engineered nannies.
Yeah,
that's just, it's almost become like the driver's becoming less and less integral to that experience.
Yeah,
the 911 can just go, and it makes, and actually that's what we found, like with the Cayman versus Emira, like Porsche in general has gotten so good and so dialed, so Germanly engineered. You don't have to be a really good driver to have a good time.
Yeah, you feel a little bit redundant, and there's some hand holding for sure.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can just throw off everything and just go rip it on a track and slide it, and they haven't engineered the fun out.
Yeah,
which is why I continue to like them and definitely want one. I've grown to appreciate the brand so much.
Yeah, granted, I think when the rear comes away on these, they rotate fast, you know?
Yeah. That is a difference with a mid-engine and a rear engine versus a front engine.
Yeah.
Miata's maybe a bit more forgiving on some things.
Yeah.
But
what's the engineering term? Is it like the polar moment of inertia?
Yeah, something like that.
For mid-engine cars or something?
That
anyway,
sounds about right.
Somebody can correct me in the comments, but it's very essential. You know, you feel like the car is rotating around the center of axis, which is pretty cool.
Yep. Well, that's a good drive. Let's wrap this thing up. Well, bucket list item checked off, and
bucket seat list?
Bucket seat list. Oh, that's just a good car. If I had driven it earlier than you selling it, I probably would have found a lot more excuses to like borrow it on occasion. Just like, oh, Luke, I don't know where the Miata is. Like, just I gotta.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pretend that there's a lot of shop time. Like, oh, the Miata's in the shop, man. Again, it's crazy. Do you mind if I
just take your car?
Yeah.
So the running joke was, I bought this, you know, because it was impossible to find. They didn't make many of them. I was like, this is gonna be my forever car. And here I am selling it less than a year later.
Barely less than a year. You've had it about a year.
About a year. So, you know, with me intending to own it for a lot longer, I sort of kind of trolled Jordan and was like, you know, found lame excuses not to let him drive the car, or I let his brother drive the car.
Right, and now we've trolled Austin enough.
Yeah.
And
well, you know, the real reason is I didn't want it to be a disappointment, because you've driven a Carrera GT, you've driven a 911 GTS, and you've driven, you know, the 718 4-liter GTS. This would have just been disappointing to you, you know?
Nope, it's just ironically the opposite. This is the Porsche I would buy. And I do want to try all the Boxsters, and that's something, if any of you guys are local, by the way, in Colorado, and have the other Boxsters, because there's 4 generations now. 4 generations. I'd love to try the other 3.
And I think what would be really cool, if you're in there, is a 987.2 Spider, which has a very similar, it's a 3.4 motor, has slightly tighter gearing.
That was 2011, 2012, right?
I think so.
They only made them 2 years.
Yeah, and they sound...
That's the one I would buy.
Yeah.
And this has just reaffirmed that. So if anyone has a Boxster Spider that I can just try.
For scientific purposes.
Yeah. I really want to see if the world is flat. So that's honestly it. I'm just so freaking thrilled and very, I'm really sad to see this go, but typical funeral speech, I'm just so glad for the life you've gotten to live with this.
we celebrate the life that was had.
Right.
And I'm glad I didn't troll you so hard that you didn't actually get to drive it.
That would have been pretty sad. So yes, I know this was a long video, guys, but I really appreciate you hanging out if you're still here. And let us know what you think of the Luke's Boxster and Boxsters in general. German Miatas in general. There's a lot of German Miatas.
Schnitzel Miata.
Schnitzel Miatas are just... Oh, there's so many, and I want to try them all. I want to try Z3, Z4. Like, I want to get all the Miata alts on this channel. Let me know what else I'm missing. Honda S2000, like, what are the other small, fun, enjoyable convertibles? I'd love to do some content with those. If you're local, Colorado, that's awesome. Maybe even on a trip somewhere. Like, I'm traveling all the time, so like maybe I could squeeze something in, but local's better.
Local's better.
So, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on another video very soon. And Flying Miata Summer Camp stuff is coming soon. Let's see what car Luke brings this year. What will we rebadge this year?
So, plot twist, all my car ownership history is just to give Jordan new content for Flying Miata.
Right. All right. Let's go get a beer.
Let's get a beer.
I want one, Mom.